2.9 FM The Game. It's time for The Drive with Q on Sports Radio 102.9 FM. It's time for The Drive with Q on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. Now, here's Q.
Good afternoon, everyone. 4 o'clock straight up on the East Coast. It is indeed a Wednesday edition of The Drive with Q. I'm your host, as always, Rich Quinones, mi hermano Angel Martinez, behind the glass, producing the show, keeping us on the air on hopefully what will turn out to be somewhat of a dry day up and down the East Coast. But we'll piggyback you through for 2 hours. We'll take you up to 6 o'clock straight up on a late September 25th, 2024. As always, don't forget the 727-858-6650. We are powered by our wonderful friends over at Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game, Coastal Sports Network, Eye on TV. By the way, if you want breaking weather, news, traffic alerts, check them out online as well. This is indeed the Hurricane Helen edition of The Drive with Q. We don't want anyone to blow away, but we have a feeling if we're on the air for 2 hours, there will be a lot of smoke being blown up said asses, because that's what we do on The Drive with Q from our good friends over at Zen Auto Concepts. And of course, Play It Again Sports in Deptford, New Jersey. All right, as I mentioned, busy show. We're hoping to hear from Lloyd Vance around 4:20-ish on the NFL. Brooke Goff, we had her on a couple weeks ago with the whole Tyreek Hill situation in the 5 o'clock hour. I'm also going to dive into a little fantasy football, and I want to get her thoughts on NIL, which I wasn't really sure what direction to go today on the show to start. So I was kind of going back and forth, thinking of some, I guess you can say, hotbedded topics, right? The NFL is always the NFL, and the pennant races in baseball are absurd. The Phillies clinched the other day. The Padres clinch a playoff spot with a game-ending triple play. I mean, absolutely absurd. The Atlanta Braves are turning around, and they're just tormenting the New York Mets once again. So I'm thinking to myself, what direction do I want to go today? And I was thinking about it like this. If we're really thinking about, this whole issue that's going on in college sports, and we always want to talk about what's going on in college sports. And as like when we're talking about these athletes trying to get paid, and when we talk about these NIL deals, right? It's crazy when you think about what's transpiring right now in college sports, because now you got a situation right now with a player from UNLV who decides that, you know what, I'm just going to take my ball. I'm going to go home. I'm going to go in a different direction. Their quarterback basically has left UNLV. Matthew Sluka has left UNLV over an NIL deal. And his contention is that, and mind you, this is a 3-0 team. His contention right now is that UNLV didn't come through on a verbal offer of $100,000 from an assistant coach. Now, there was also talk after the fact he was paid a little bit, he went to hire an agent. And then now there's even more talk because he's performing well, the price goes up. So again, this is a classic case, almost of like the he said, she said, right? And this is the Pandora's box. This is what the sports world has opened up when we start to talk about NIL deals. Name, image, likeness. Hey, got to get paid, got to get paid, got to get paid, got to get paid. Okay, fine. So now UNLV comes out earlier today and they said that this kid's representative made financial demands upon the university and its NIL collective in order to continue playing, which again, now we got to get into the ethics of this, do we not? I'm sure the university will conduct their due diligence. I'm sure, again, they will probably go follow through protocol. But here's the issue. If his deal did pay him $3,000, right, for basically an engagement he made over the summer, And now, because the kid's playing well and the team's winning, and now I get an agent and I want to bump that up all of a sudden to 100,000. That's a piss poor look on the kid. Now, I don't blame the kid, but it's just kind of a I wouldn't have gone that route. I wouldn't have gone that route. So now you've got a situation where there are those that believe there was no talk of $100,000. It wasn't even presented. It wasn't even on the table. There was no promise of $100,000. All right. So here you got the player, here you got school, you got the university, throw in the kid's agent now, throw in the kid's father, his family, and now you've got this. Who's right? Who's wrong? Read the fine print. We know the athletes that bank money, okay, when it comes to the NIL. We know the athletes. And again, here's the thing, like anything else in life, if I'm going to enroll in a university, if I want to be paid a talent fee, if I'm about to go on the air, if I'm about to sign that letter of intent with a job, what do I need to do? What do I need? Read the fine print, number one. Read the fine print. But then you start to get in this conversation of, well, wait a second. If I've already signed off on this agreement with the university, and now because I'm not getting paid, or let's just say I signed off on the university, and now I don't like really what I signed up for, now I'm going to try to transfer. So if you think about this, those demands now, it's in the not only university, but it's in NCAA handbook, rule book. That's a violation, right? Because now we're talking about the NCAA pay for play rules. And now you have to go into state law. So UNLV is going to come out and they're going to say what they said. They don't condone these types of activities. They don't respond to implied threats. And that's where you have to watch now. If I'm going on the record saying I was promised $100,000, show me the contract. Show me the paper trail. But if I signed on with a university and they promised me $3,000 up front, and that was pretty much it, and I took that money, the transaction is over with. That's it. I don't have a leg to stand on. I can maybe go back and say, I want more money because I've been playing well and the school's playing well. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. I mean, you can do that, but now it's almost like, buyer's remorse. You should have settled for more. You should have hung in there for more. That's on the kid. That's on you. You signed the deal. So this is going to be this classic. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be one of these classics. Read the fine print, go through everything. He said, she said, the back channels, phone calls, text messages, what's in emails. I mean, it's very rare. You've got a kid now deciding, I'm going to redshirt. I don't want to play anymore on a 3-0 team that's ranked number 23 in the coaches poll. And oh, by the way, the first time they've been ranked in any major poll in history. I mean, think about that. I'm not talking about the Little Sisters of the Poor here. I'm talking about UNLV. UNLV is not known for football. UNLV is known for what? Basketball, the Running Rebels, right? Going back in the day, the Larry Johnsons, the Greg Anthonys, the Moses Scurrys, up and down with the Tark, with the towel in his mouth. Not football. So now you're 3-0. You're ranked. You're feeling pretty good. You're putting fannies in the seats. Boosters are loving it. University's going to make some money. You turned around, you beat Houston, you beat Kansas, and you had this kid at quarterback. And now you got Fresno State on Saturday, which I'll get to the line in a moment. So where do you side here? Where do you side here? If it's a verbal offer and if it was never formalized, then there's basically two schools of thought. There's varying reasons or versions of what happened. I can tell you this. And what I do. So, for instance, if I'm calling the fights or if I'm doing something for, say, a network, or if I'm doing something for another platform, sure as hell better know I've negotiated my rate and I put it in writing. Now, whether I'm getting paid in a timely fashion might be another thing. But point being is that, listen, in no way, shape, or form am I going to sit there and I'm going to have this, I got to go back through the fine print, or hey, because I'm doing well on the broadcast. I mean, first of all, they're not listening to me. They want to watch the fights or they want to watch the game. But hey, I thought it was a flawless broadcast. Now all of a sudden I'm going to up my rate right away. It doesn't work like that. It just doesn't. And I think what's happening is this will call into question how do I say this? Um, the ethics involved. I mean, you've got millionaire college athletes all over the place, all over the place. And I've said for years, the NCAA, they are a bunch of hypocrites. If the kids are going to go out there and you're going to win football games or you're going to win basketball games, you're going to put more fannies in the seats. You're going to help with boosters. You're going to help with getting broadcast and TV rights. Then you should be compensated. I mean, back in the day, let me give you a couple $100 for books and maybe you'll be on a partial scholarship here and there, right? Not anymore, man. There's so much money involved. There's so much at stake. I mean, think about the athletes right now. Hunter, Sanders, the kid from Miami, Dunn, the gymnast. Talk about these NIL deals. It's absolutely crazy, the money that they're making. Hey, have at it. But you can't have sour grapes. You can't all of a sudden turn around and if you sign something, renege on it. And if the university signed on something, they can't renege and back out either. That's just a bad look. And this will now start to open up the floodgates on how we look and how we approach these NIL deals. 727-858-6650. We'll open it up early on this Wednesday edition of The Drive. And I've said this before. When you start to open up the checkbook and then player A sees what player B is doing or getting, and then player B what player C is doing, there's going to be that pettiness, there's going to be that jealousy, and all of a sudden now what you're paying them, I want. 727-858-6650. And that's the problem. That's the problem we have. I want to hear what you guys have to say as well. You can call in, you can text in. We'll take up to 6 o'clock. Lloyd Vance in about 10 minutes or so. Penguin AC, afternoon, Romano Q, listening from the desert. Okay. I appreciate that. The dry desert air. My guy Vince chimes in Q. The issue is that the kids can't sign until they enroll. They need to sign the contracts before they transfer, but it's illegal. Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, it's weird, right? Because it's like, sign this, can't transfer, can't jump in, but I still want to get paid. I feel as though this has not been clearly identified or defined, if that makes sense, right? Because the only formal offer from the school was $3,000 a month for 4 months. Okay. $3,000 a month, 4 months, that's 12 grand. The only money this kid received from UNLV, I guess per his lawyer, was $3,000 for moving expenses. Randall Cunningham went to UNLV. I noticed that Bunker Boys reverted back to Bunker Boys. They're not Bourbon Street Boys after the Eagles win against New Orleans. That pretty much defines an Eagles fan. A friggin' 727-858. I see everything. 727-858-6650. I mean, I preferred the Bourbon Boys, Bourbon Street Boys. Yeah, but now all of a sudden he's back to the BB. Yeah, this opens up Pandora's box big time, man. It really does. And it's a shame too, because the way the system is, right? So schools can make financial offers to players during the recruiting process, but it was pointed out you can't directly fulfill those promises, right? Too soon, because you have to go back years ago. That antitrust lawsuit, the NCAA has agreed to allow schools to pay players directly. If the settlement is approved in court, the new system has the potential to give both players and teams more security by allowing them to enter more direct contracts with one another. Basically, I'm saying, all right, I'm in, I'm signed, I'm good to go. But if I'm doing well, now I can do something hush hush, something on the side. Here we go. This is not years ago where I'm going to hand you a bag on the blacktop. You're playing at Rucker Park and I'm trying to recruit you back in the 80s. Which, in essence, if you think about it, it is kind of like the same thing. Like, it really is. I mean, let's call it for what it is. Wink, wink, some shoes. Wink, wink. What was it? The movie Blue Chips with Nick Nolte, right? And the kid had the balls. The one kid had the audacity to sit in there and say, "What I want is 30,000 in one of those small bags and a tractor." Like, get the hell out of here! Like a tractor, right? A tractor, the car, the home, 30,000 in small bills, non-denominal, wash them, clean them through the laundry. And I want one of those bags, the bags that you carry around with $30,000. Nick Nolte was like, get the hell out of here. But guess what? They wound up giving the kid the tractor and the money. So like NIL to me, we can gloss it and be nice and massage it and be sweet about it and loving and say NIL, that's professional, name, image, likeness. But at the end of the day, we're still buying the player. We're still buying the athlete. And the irony is the athlete fought tooth and nail because they wanted value on what they do. And at the end of the day, you're still being bought. You're still being bought. The college athlete is still being bought. It's just potentially to the highest bidder. That's all that is, potentially to the highest bidder. It's a fascinating story. It's not going to go away anytime soon. I have no issue with NIL deals. I don't. If you're the player, make the money. Go out and make the money. Again, where I have some issues is if you're signing a contract, if it's a binding contract, and you both agree to it, not in principle, not a verbal handshake, because guess what? There's no more gentlemen in this world. We shake hands, it means squat. It does. You can wipe it on a napkin. It means nothing. And wipe your fanny with it later. Give me the contract. Don't gloss over it. Really read the fine print. Lawyer sign off, university signs off, I sign off, and we're good to go. Then if you have a problem, take it up in the courts. Take it up in the courts. Take it up with the university. Take it up with the NCAA and try to fight. But if you signed it and you agreed to X, Y, and Z, then you're going to get X, Y, and Z. You start to get into this verbal commitment, you're opening up a can of worms, man. You're opening up a big time can of worms. And nobody wants to deal with that kind of stuff. Nobody does. Come on. We've all been there, right? Go out a couple times, all right. We went out to dinner, went to the movies, maybe went to the club. We went a little dancing, had a nice time, maybe met for a drink, maybe had a little cup of coffee here and there, perhaps a little fresh roasted coffee, by the way. The promo is still up, by the way, BYP20, just shameless plug. But anyway, you do that a couple times and then you almost assume every weekend, right? You're going to go back out with the same guy or the same girl. Can't assume. Do it a couple times and you think you rolled into a relationship. You can't assume. Some of these athletes are making this assumption because you're signing it and you're agreeing to something because now all of a sudden you're playing well. That gives you the right to more. Maybe by definition it does, but the letter of the law says otherwise. And that's the problem you start to run into. All right, 20 past 4 o'clock hour, cranking it up on a, what would we say, a Hurricane Helen edition. By the way, for my guys down there in Southwest Florida, please, seriously, guys got to stay safe. I don't need, we blow enough smoke up the viewing audience, culo, tushy. We don't need the incredible shrinking Hermano blown away. We don't need that. Hatchet it down, weight it down, do whatever you need to do. Stay, drive down there. And if you want some breaking weather alerts, check out Eye on TV. Lloyd Vance on the other side, cranking up on a Wednesday edition of The Drive with Q. We'll take up to 6 o'clock. Brooke off at 5:20. NFL heavy on the other side. I want to get your thoughts, comments too. NIL. I see some Facebook comments, some Twitter as well. You guys can chime in. Always, the floor is yours. 727-858-6650. We are powered by our good friends at Zen Auto Concepts in Stuart, Florida. They are voted the #1 detailing shop in the entire state. Paint protection, clear bra detailing. They've got some great pricing with packages. They'll give you all the customer info. You can just log on, Q&A, product warranty, 772-463-8500. And again, a lot of services out there. Coatings, detailing, exterior, interior, ceramic, pro. Check them out, Zen Auto Concepts. All right, again, we'll give it to you one more time, 727-858-6650. We'll take up to 6. Lloyd Vance on the other side on a Wednesday.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Call or text the show at 727-858-6650. Now, back to Q.
Oh, bumper guy. Sorely missed. 727-858-6650. By the way, fresh roasted coffee, the official drink of the Drive with Q. The promo code from when we do our betting segments, BYP20, I give you the affiliate link so you get 20% off your first purchase. So support the good folks over at Fresh Roasted Coffee. 727-858-6650. I felt like that was a hard push in infomercial, right? Remember, like back in the day in the news, they would smoke the cigarette at the news desk and then they take a little sip, a little Folgers. Let me get to some of these comments. Joe D. Summers Point chiming in. Q, I think you got it all wrong when it comes to the NIL. The players are lucky that they're actually getting compensated. At the end of the day, they're getting a 4-year education. Is that not enough? I mean, what are we doing? Oh, there it was. First of the day. That came at 4:23. Oh, second one. I tried to switch it up. I just want you to know that. I brought her in today. I switched it up, but it doesn't matter. If she hears a drop, like a pen, that's it. It's over. It's absolutely over. So now we're going to settle back down a little bit. Come here, mommy. Sit down. Come on. Asienta. How about Joe's D's comment? You know, does that sounds like the old man on the porch? What are we doing now? We're going to play that, right? Oh, well, you're still getting a 4-year, education. Yeah, but how much money do you guys really think these athletes when they're successful make the university? Millions of dollars. Millions of and I pulled up some of these the highest earners. Oh my God. It's absurd. I mean, Shedeur Sanders is making about 5. It's crazy. You're all working with these brands, New Balance, Beats by Dre, right? If you check out On 3, where Costco works, they give you the top athlete evaluations, right? The NILs. Shedeur Sanders, Livy Dunn, Travis Hunter, Arch Manning, Quinn Ewers, who else? Cam Ward's in there, Carson Beck's in there. These guys are all making $1, $2, $3, $4, $5 million. And they should. Again, I have no problem with it. Go, make it, enjoy it, have fun. Have fun. Wow. So a couple of you guys just text in this, but I just wanted to verify, not that I don't trust you guys. But so UNLV's 4th leading rusher this season is also gone. Michael Allen is entering the portal. Wow. So he tweeted this out after 3 games. This is great. Thank you, Joey. Appreciate that. After 3 games, I have decided to utilize my red shirt and enter the portal at the end of the season as a redshirt junior. I'm grateful for UNLV and wish them nothing but success. Expectations for opportunities, unfortunately, were not met, and I'm excited to continue my football career. All right, so here we go. So now we start to get into this conversation where, what is that old saying, right? Once is an accident, twice it is a coincidence. Right? Is that it? I mean, you guys correct me. You guys do good correcting me on the air because I make a shit ton of mistakes and I'm okay with that. And then whatever the third time is like, shame on me, fool me once, fool me twice, whatever. Now you get another player that's coming out and he's basically saying, that's it. Expectations weren't met. So now we start to see, all right, where's the smoking gun here? Is this on UNLV? Is there something lost in the sauce? Right? Now, again, who knows, man? Maybe all of a sudden, again, you've got other players, they step up, but I find it very interesting that 3 games in and you're 3-0, players are now starting to bail. That's never, ever a good look. Joey B, lots of money to be made betting against UNLV the rest of the college football year. Yeah, I can't. Man, I'll tell you. Let me see if the lines moved. Yeah, you got to see where it's in at right now. Right now, UNLV was favored by 1, and the total is 49. I mean, listen, you want to lean certain teams. I'll give you some teams to lean, but we'll go in the NFL. That's where I wanted to go for a little bit. I want to focus too. I was doing a little more reading on this Tua situation, which is it's getting a little, getting a little dicey with that. 727-858-6665. Especially when you start to get into the insurance, the policy. But you go around the NFL, and how about this? So we did a Man Up Monday. So let me take the bullets right here because I said, quote, on the air, Washington's going to get waxed by Cincinnati. Washington got the better of Cincinnati. Jaden Daniels is going to be a handful. He's going to be a problem. And then I think I said, quote, Jacksonville is going to make it a game. Jacksonville is going to make it a game. That game was over before you guys probably even went to your second beverage of choice. What a disgrace for Jacksonville. And now you got to, it is a very interesting situation. We're talking about the NILs. Now you have a situation with Jacksonville where or maybe Tua. I don't know. Maybe Dee can clarify that for me, and I apologize. You've got a situation in Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence, who's putting up the same type of numbers as Daniel Jones, but we want to sit there and say Trevor Lawrence is a generational quarterback. I mean, that offense is stagnant. That offense is horrible. They are beyond inept. They didn't even show up. Those are the types of games that get coaches fired. And I got to be honest, you got Jacksonville going to London for a couple games. Dougie P might not even get back on the plane. How in the world do you go out, season on the line, can ill afford to go and drop to 0-3, and you don't even show up? That game wasn't even competitive. If you booked in the teasers with them in Washington, God bless you. Good. I hope you put some money. Go the opposite way of my picks because they have just sucked through 3 weeks. They have been horrible. They have not been good. We're pretty much a shade under 500. But man, if you're Trevor Lawrence, don't you think in Jacksonville they're starting to question Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence? His numbers were horrible. I mean, that game was what? 34-3 at the half. And Allen goes off. Only 3 quarterbacks this year, which is crazy. Only 3 quarterbacks this year total in the NFL have thrown for over 300 yards. One of them was Andy Dalton. The other was Dak Prescott, and the other was Josh Allen. That's an absurd stat. Allen right now, the front runner for MVP in the NFL, and rightfully so. But just talk that Trevor Lawrence, generational talent, generational quarterback. Guys, I'm not seeing it. And I'm a Lawrence fan, but I'm not seeing it. His numbers are horrible. And Angel asked me the question, what if he struggles? Well, I was like, what is he going to do? 21 of what? 35 for $186? He went 21 of 38 for $176. They couldn't friggin' run the football at all. I mean, Buffalo averaged 4.5 a carry. They ran right through him. When do you start to, and D might be right, Damon from AC. Doug Peterson might be fired. You want to talk about odds, and I hate bringing this up. You talk about head coaches to be fired. I don't think, first of all, I don't think Eberflus is going to last in Chicago. I don't know why they brought him back. But Doug Peterson's sitting at plus 150. Mike McCarthy is at plus 450. I mean, you hate to say it, but how the hell in the world is Mike McCarthy and Doug Peterson, how do they still have a job? Well, now they move. McCarthy plus 250. If Doug's at plus 400, I'm taking a flyer on Doug Peterson right now. He's lost. So you got that issue going on in Jacksonville. They don't even show up. And then you turn around Cincinnati. I mean, I'm hearing people kill Joe Burrow. Did you watch the game? That's not on Joe Burrow. That's on the defense. To me, the story of that game Monday night is one of the reasons that I talked about Jaden Daniels and Washington winning the division. That kid is going to be a star. That kid is going to be such a problem in the NFC East. He can scramble. He can run. You saw the third down play. Unbelievable dime to McLaurin. Just dropped it in there. The kid is just flat out poised. He's unfazed. He's not seeing ghost. He's having fun. He's slinging it. And you know why that's all transitioning to success? Because he's also being coached up. He's not going to, I'm sorry, if Eric Bieniemy and Ron Rivera are right now in Washington, this kid's not going to flourish. You need it, Quinn. You need to change scenery. You need it, Kingsbury. You need it, different minds. And a lot of talk was, are they going to reel him in? A lot of talk was, is he going to start the season? This is one of the reasons if you draft a quarterback high, feast or famine, get him out there. Sink or swim. He's either going to sink, he's going to swim. This kid's swimming. Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, they're treading. They're sinking a little bit. You have to give these guys an opportunity to find themselves. And you just can't bench them and pull them and bench them and pull them. Then you start doing the mind you know what with them, and that crushes their confidence. Crushes their confidence. Listen, McCarthy's on the hot seat. I would not discount what's going on in Cincinnati. There's something fundamentally broke with Cincinnati. There's something wrong with that defense. That head coach doesn't look engaged. And then you have what's going on in Jacksonville. And then Buffalo, a team that I thought was going to implode this year, they're playing great football. And how about Allen? How about Josh Allen coming out and basically saying, hey, it's great when you play with guys that don't always have to get their touches. Is that not a direct fired shot at Diggs? I mean, that is just, and Josh Allen is such a great quarterback. Pound for pound, like if I, right now in the NFL, and you can't take Rodgers because it's not Rodgers in his prime. But if there's one quarterback that I would sit there and say, go down the field, 80 yards, down 6, $1:30 to go, and 2 timeouts, I'll tell you right now, I'm taking Josh Allen over Patrick Mahomes. I'm taking Josh Allen over Patrick Mahomes in a heartbeat. And Patrick Mahomes is a generational quarterback. Generational quarterback. Patrick Mahomes sometimes will do the goofy things, and I know Allen does, but to me, Allen is locked in right now. He is absolutely locked in. He's playing some of the best football of his career, and I get it. We're only 3 games into the season. Kid hasn't turned the football over. And the other thing that no one is talking about with Buffalo is their offensive line has done a phenomenal job of keeping him upright. Sometimes you got to get rid of these players. My friends and I always have this debate, right? Name me a team that won a Super Bowl with a diva wide receiver or a diva running back. You don't need these guys anymore in the NFL. They're a dime a dozen. You can have complementary wide receivers. You can spread the ball around. And by the way, if you're doing player props, and I text my buddy this, if you're doing player props, you might as well do James Cook pretty much every weekend, anytime touchdown. He's good for one. But Josh Allen does it with his arm, he does it with his heart, he does it with his head, and he does it with his legs. Yeah, he's going to throw the pick once in a while, but that's just who he is. He's that riverboat gambler. 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650. See what you guys have to say on a Wednesday, 40 past the 4 o'clock hour. We'll take you up to 6. We'll run through some of these comments as well as we fire them off. 727-858-6650. I guess we'll start from the last one. All right, we'll go to Fuge. Yeah, go ahead, Fuge. What's going on? How about Cincy's coach? Yes. I think there's an issue with Cincinnati right now, man. I really do. They don't have a very good defense. I think you're putting a lot of pressure on Burrow to make plays. I think the other problem is they haven't been able to run the football consistently this year. And the problem now too with Cincinnati, if you're Bengals Nation, if you're a Bengals fan, you're playing in one of the toughest divisions in football in the AFC North. So since he's got some issues, yeah. All right, let's keep it rolling. See what else you guys have to say. 727-858-6650. Joey B. John Gruden to Jacksonville or Dallas. Ugh. I am so over. I can't stand, and this has nothing to do with the comment. The whole John Gruden thing to me is annoying as hell. Such an overrated head coach. Such an overrated head coach. Yeah, Diggs, I mean, you're going to get that with some of these players. Absolutely. Gruden, I feel like every year when there's a coach on the hot seat, what do we want to do? We want to mention Belichick, Gruden. Trevor Lawrence, not a generational talent. No, he's not. He's not. But people pegged him as a generational talent. Right? I don't know about that, Q. Mahomes isn't goofy when it's on the line. Maybe that, and D, appreciate you, brother. Maybe that's a poor, when I say goofy, listen, Mahomes is as clutch as they come. Yes. And maybe I used it in the wrong fashion, but I just picture, Mahomes is falling to his knee and he's doing one of these. I mean, look, Patrick Mahomes he's an all-time great. Patrick Mahomes is roller skating in the Hall of Fame. He might be, when it's all said and done, he might surpass Montana, Brady, Elway, Marino, Staubach. He might surpass a Star. He might surpass all of them. But I'm just saying, if you took the whole picture in totality, right, and you looked at Allen and Mahomes, I've seen Mahomes do it. I have. But I've also seen Mahomes do it with a shit ton of weapons around him. Like Allen, I believe, can do it as presently constructed with this team. And doesn't the narrative change for Josh Allen and Buffalo if they win that playoff game? I mean, let's be fair. Let's be fair here. I mean, that game, that one of the epic wild card games, right? Was that really on Josh Allen? Josh Allen threw 4 touchdowns in that game, 300 yards. He added another 70-something on the ground. But the coach was a bonehead. And we're going to squib it. We talk about all these other coaches. If Buffalo doesn't make the playoffs, I don't know how you stick with McDermott. I really don't. I don't know how you do it. All right, 4:40. About 20 to play with hour number 1. Quick timeout. We'll reset the table, 727-858-6650. We'll take up to 6 o'clock straight up. Keep the comments rolling in as well. NFL heavy. And we want to get to a couple things with the Miami Dolphins and Tua. Also, I have a kind of a different spin on some of these quarterbacks that are struggling and being benched. And then I want to, throw out a scenario to you guys with a couple of these quarterbacks as well. Yes, it is the Hurricane Helen edition of the Drive with Q. Sports Radio 102.9 FM. I mean, where's the Doppler, right? The map. I'm surprised you didn't have that, B-rolled, getting ready to rock it in the bank there. All of a sudden, Angel is tweeting out when Jim Cantora's around, shit's about to go down. All right, 727-858-6650. Quick timeout. We'll come back on the other side.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontb.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all of these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Awesome. Where were you, Jill?
Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
that right now? I saw a flashing Hermano. Did Angel just get caught? Is that right now? Oh, when was that?
As we went into the break, you
No,
had
no, no, no. I just want to know when was that, because that's, to me, that's misleading. That's Fox News. That's false advertising. When was that? When was that?
Let me check the date here. This was a Category 5 hurricane. It doesn't say what year it was.
So hold on a second. Now the audience thinks this is going on in Tampa.
No,
you pulled
said
a Fox.
prior,
You
you said
literally you misled. You misled.
no, I didn't.
Shut
You
it down.
You said prior to the break, I'm surprised you don't have it queued up. And so I was giving you rain and wind. That's what I was giving you.
Yeah, but it gives the appearance. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Listen to the audience chime in. When you see that, don't you feel as though that is what is transpired right now?
Trust me, if that was transpiring right now, we wouldn't be on the air.
I mean, you listen, you got the equipment, man. You can hold it together. Knowing you'd be outside, you'd have, like what's his name in Caddyshack? Remember, right? The priest was out there. The good Lord would never ruin this day. See, I want to know from the people right now, 727-858-6650. Did Angel Martinez just pull a friggin' Fox News?
Penguin AZ.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Thank you.
Listen,
we have listeners in Southwest Florida right now. Kids might be walking home from school. All of a sudden, their father sees this and they think their kid's going to blow away. All because you want a little airtime to make a joke.
I got to relax before. I don't sleep. My lovely wife producer is over in Studio B, and she knows it. Tonight, I'll get zero sleep. Once the winds pick up around here and everything else, forget about it. Earlier on, we had a small taste of just the thunderstorms. Our usual summer stuff now that it is fall officially, but it's never fall here in Florida. But it's in about another 2-3 hours from now, it'll start picking up pretty bad. So I do it because I get freaking anxiety really bad. So at least this is kind of like the prelude to what will be me, the nervous wreck, for the next 36 hours plus.
Marty and Ellesmere that used to listen to me on 1290 Ticket said, Q, that was unequivocally, absolutely a what the frig Friday moment, as we used to call it, a freaking A Friday. Definitely fake news. Yeah. I mean, the people have spoken. It's absurd.
I'm not going to, first, where the hell would I even get that footage from? Because it's not like I have a live camera.
I don't know what you're doing back there in Studio A, but you need to get your shit together. That's all I'm saying. That's it. Let me see what we got here. A franchise in Delaware chiming in. Q, you haven't mentioned the Yankees yet. I see the Mets are about to implode. Looks like the Atlanta Braves just love to torture the Mets and their fan base. MLB pennant races, I'll get into those in a little bit in the 5 o'clock hour. But here's an interesting, I want one more thing, a little housekeeping on this NIL, right? So now you've got multiple players. Do you guys now believe that they've been done dirty, right? But again, if there's not a contract, an official contract inked with those types of numbers, what can you do? That's all. I just wanted to make a point. There's really not much you can do with that anymore. You just can't. And that's the problem. Tom in North Jersey chiming in. Q, you're talking about all these coaches getting fired. We're 3 weeks into the season. Everyone needs to pump the brakes. Jacksonville's got a ton of issues. Look at that roster up and down. Lawrence is certainly overrated. Cincinnati's going to figure it out. They got an all-world, all-pro quarterback. I'm not as high as many on the head coach. And then you look at Miami. There's no way you can mention their coach on the hot seat because Tua went down. Well, I didn't. And I think he's a very good head coach. Cincinnati's not turning around. Cincinnati's in trouble. Jacksonville is bad, man. Jacksonville now is in a situation where you paid Trevor Lawrence all that money. And I know, Angel, you mentioned this. You asked me this question on Monday's show. If he struggles, as bad as he's played, he gives you a better chance of winning than Mac Jones. And if I bench Trevor Lawrence, I am saying I made a grave mistake in paying him. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
I really do. Look, Caleb Williams, I'm not a big Caleb Williams fan. I think the Bears are a poorly run franchise. I think this kid's going to struggle. I really hope I'm wrong. But if you start to look at some of these overall picks, Joe Burrow led his team to the Super Bowl. I mean, we're not. Let's not gloss over that. There's always listen. Did anyone think if I were to say the biggest surprise right now in the NFL, right? The biggest surprise, and we talked a little bit about this: Minnesota, Seattle, Pittsburgh, which I want to get into in a moment, and then you got Washington, right? So Jaden Daniels, they clean house. They bring in Dan Quinn, a defensive guy. They get rid of some of their players last year. They just wanted to get rid of them. But they kept some veterans, McLaurin. They have that kid Robinson, can run the football. Now you got to steal in the draft. I mean, I would have loved the Giants to take this kid, but now you got to steal in the draft and Jaden Daniels, who's just beyond poised. And I think right now at 2-1, forget about Minnesota, forget about Seattle, and no disrespect to Pittsburgh, but the Commanders, to me, are the surprise of the season. And then conversely, Jacksonville, Cincinnati, they're disappointments. The Cowboys are a disappointment. San Francisco, with all these injuries, no one's even mentioned the 49ers. All we talk about is the NFC, right? We talk a lot of the NFC on the air because, the fan base is predominantly NFC. Before the season started, it was like, hey, pencil these guys in. Now, if you're a 49ers fan, you're looking around saying, what the hell? You got players injured left and right. You got guys that are banged up. But you live and die by your quarterback. I don't care what anyone tells me. You live and die by the quarterback. And right now around the league, Cleveland is bad. Would you rather have Trevor Lawrence right now or Deshaun Watson? Deshaun Watson is going to get benched at some point during the season. I don't know what week it's going to be. He is going to get benched. He is. You listen to some of his comments. He's talking about, the new look offense. He's not a running quarterback. Okay. But then you're going to go on the record saying that you got signed to make to make the throw, to throw the football and make decisions. But you're not. You're not at all. Period. You're not at all a good quarterback right now. All these teams we're talking about, they have one common denominator. The quarterbacks are struggling, aside from what Burrow did the other night, but he hasn't had a Burrow-esque type of start. Lawrence has struggled. Williams has struggled. Watson is struggling. And then you have cast-offs who are getting coached up. Sam Darnold in Minnesota. Justin Fields in Pittsburgh. I mean, think about that for a moment. Geno Smith in Seattle. Man, I'm telling you, 727-858-6650 is ripped through some of these comments. A domino effect coming for other teams. I'm thinking other players might feel the same about not getting the deals. Talking about the NILs. I mean, maybe this kid is the, the crusader, right? The first one. What do they say? The first one through the door.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to take all the bullets first, right? 727-858-6650. I think it's opened up Pandora's box. Vince chimes in. Coach Prime was talking about this issue yesterday on his weekly CU show. He has guys that want to redshirt and keep the year of eligibility and get paid. They play 3-4 games for tape and get paid. But see, do you guys not see that's a problem? Do you not see that's a problem? Like, it goes back to the all in or not. You want to play, then play. If you want a red shirt, then red shirt. Chargers will struggle as Herbert can't stay healthy. Will that affect if Harbaugh is NFL coach worthy? That I got to let play out. Because if the Chargers win 8-9 games, Harbaugh is probably going to contribute 2 to 3 wins. But right now, Harbaugh is not the coach of the year. He's not the coach of the year right now. And I don't think it's Tomlin. Who's doing a really good job? Well, I'll tell you who's really doing a good job, and he's not even a head coach. And everyone thought he got blackballed, and that's Brian Flores.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
yeah.
Brian Flores, Brian Flores made the comments about Tua. early in the season. Tua kind of shot back, and you don't want a Monday morning quarterback because the kid got hurt. But you look what Brian Flores is doing in Minnesota as a defensive coordinator, trying to get another head coaching gig. He's doing a really nice job. He's doing a really nice job right now. I mean, if I were to right at this moment, think about this. A week ago, Harbaugh was plus 650. McDaniel was plus 800. Now, Kevin O'Connell, there you go, Minnesota plus 800. Mayo. What happens if New England wins, I don't know, 7 or 8 games? You might have to look at Mayo. Jerry in Rhode Island, always good to hear from him. How many of these quarterbacks have horrible offensive coordinators who have never developed a whack who succeeded? So it's a really good point you bring up, and I'm going to give you the perfect example. Sam Darnold. Belichick said this the other day on McAfee show. Everyone loved or loves Sam Darnold except the Jets. I mean, Sam Darnold got ruined in New York. He got injured. Then he had, he had the mono issue. But you saw talent. If you go back, and there were a couple of games early on in his career with the Jets where you said, oh my God, this kid can play a little bit. And I believe it might have been, it could have been 2000. It might have been his rookie year where he just, I think it was his first game as a pro. And I'll have to double check during the break. He just went off. I mean, he flat out went off. I think he had a couple touchdowns, a couple scrambles here and there. He's making ridiculous throws. They put up 45 points against Detroit, and everyone's like, oh, here we go. The Jets finally have their quarterback, because the Jets haven't really had a good quarterback. But if you break down even more, who was their offensive coordinator? It was Jeremy Bates. Not blowing you away. Who was their offensive coordinator the next year? It was Logan's, I think it was. Their defensive coordinator was the kid that did the bounty, the guy that did the bounty, Greg Williams.
Yeah.
So point being is, after they jettisoned Sam Darnold and he bounced around a little bit, he kind of found a home. And they went through Zach Wilson, Mike White. They went through Flacco, Josh Johnson. They had all these quarterbacks. Darnold just wasn't a fit in New York. They didn't coach him up. Carolina's a bad franchise, but they liked him. San Francisco wanted to re-sign him. He was going to be behind Brock. Didn't pan out. Had an opportunity. Cousins goes down. Here we go. You're on the depth chart. I'm sorry, not Cousins. I keep saying, why do I keep thinking Cousins plays for Minnesota? JJ McCarthy, the kid from Michigan, went down. Here we go. So I think it was, it might have been Penguin, or it could have been Jerry's point. You have to be coached up in the NFL, and you also have to have a really good coaching staff. It's one of the reasons I thought New England was going to struggle this year because of the quarterback play and their coaching staff. It's one of the issues that I thought Dallas was going to be a bad team. They might have talent, but they have just a brutal coaching staff, right?
Yep.
Talk from Patriot Insider saying May is close to taking over the team. This is what's going to happen in New England. And I'll tell you the week. Let me pull up their schedule. Bear with me for a second, guys. I know we're hitting 5 o'clock. So New England's in a very interesting spot. Very low expectations this year. But they drafted Drake May, 3rd overall, first round, right? Out of North Carolina. Here we go. Big, strong arm quarterback. Okay. Smoke and mirrors week 1. They got a nice win. But now we know that Cincinnati's not that good. You lost by 3 to Seattle, which is 3-0. No show against the Jets. And that was a tough spot for the Jets. Brissett is a bridge quarterback. That's all he is. Typically, first-year head coaches are more inclined to go with the veteran quarterback over the rookie quarterback. That's all this is. That's all this is. Mayo figures, I need to win some games. Let me try to build a rapport. Let me try to get some momentum. let these guys have some confidence. Maybe we can win a couple games to start the season. All right, you're 1-2. Now you go on the road against a really banged up 49ers team. Again, I know they're banged up, but I'm not starting May on the road against the 49ers. You come back home against the Miami Dolphins. Is that a spot? Back home for the Texans. Is that a spot? Maybe back home for Jacksonville, which would be ironic because if Lawrence is benched and they go to Mac Jones, you got a reunion there. So if May, and again, he might start this week, I don't know. But if I were to pick a game that Drake May starts, to me, what would make sense is that October 20th against Jacksonville. Now, again, you guys are, listening in Boston and Rhode Island. You're a lot, closer to the team than I am, obviously. I know this kid from what I've been told. The kid's been playing well in practice, and that's great. That's got to translate again to the pros. I am curious, though, that I'm wondering if Patriots fans are pissed off that this kid turns around after the Jet game and said, hey, I got to wait a second for the GOAT. Speaking of, Aaron Rodgers, when, oh, by the way, he had a pretty good quarterback, that played for a little bit in New England, wore the number 12 and whatnot. All right. All right. 16 of books. Hold on. We're going to get a 5 o'clock Doppler. Go ahead. Walk us through, Jim Cantor.
Yeah, well, this is the 4 o'clock. The 5 o'clock one's about to be updated, though. But the reason why, and listen, I like to goof around with certain things.
This is what I'm saying. Fake news again. He's giving me 4 o'clock Doppler.
What I'm telling you is that what I like to do is to kind of calm myself down. But this is the actual one here. You guys can go to fox13.com. Right down here, fox13news.com.
Why are we telling the listening audience to leave the show?
Well, because you're saying fake news. This is not fake news. This is the actual forecast that's going on right now. So it's not fake. This is the monster that's about to enter the Gulf, which is almost out of Cuba. Once it hits out of Cuba, come tomorrow morning, we got 125-mile-an-hour winds plus around here. So the reason why I played the thing earlier tend to calm the nerves down before my nerves jump through the freaking roof.
Hold on, let's dissect this for a moment. Let's stick. Can we get rid of the Doppler for a second? Because I can't see it, and I don't believe anyone else. I see it, but it's very small.
Yeah, well, Penguin AZ, you can look it up yourself. This is not double fake news. So let's not go there because this is not fake news.
Do you know the commercial where the guy says, when you start to become your parents, right? And all of a sudden, like the guy peeks the blinds down. He goes, oh, man, it's really coming out.
Yeah.
I mean, what? So you're Eye on TB, not up to date. Oh, wow. Hold on a second.
Wait a minute.
Wow. We're powered by Eye on TB and they don't have an updated Doppler. That's maybe because they're getting a ton of traffic on their site. I mean, that can be an issue right now. Hold on.
That could be. I'm looking at it right now, even though, yes, Eye on TB may not have it at the moment.
Look at the weather. Let me see. Sunshine Skyway Bridge they got a crash. They got an incident. They got the airport updates. They got the traffic advisory, weather advisory, international airport, suspended. Clearwater, suspended.
Number 8 to 12. Again, storm surge forecasting is never easy. There's no doubt we'll have some high water, and these numbers could be advised or updated even more as you move through tonight and tomorrow morning. So lots to talk about. I'm going to go read the discussion from the Hurricane Center, and I'll see you at 5:20.
Thanks, Paul.
Wow,
all eyes remain on the forecast as Helene rapidly approaches. That includes county and city leaders across our area, as well as the governor.
Hey, listen, it's never fake. This is the real stuff. So just to let everybody know.
Oh, you're pulling this right now. This is a live feed.
Yeah, that's live feed.
All right. Can I ask, can I put you on the sofa for a moment?
Sure.
What's with the anxiety with the weather?
Because
let's peel back the curtain a little bit. Let's have a moment.
Because hurricanes are never the easiest things to go through. I don't care who says what. It's never the easiest. Unless you're drunk or you're, I don't know, on Quaaludes or something else. It's the anxiety because you have, the wind is what causes the majority of damage. You have flooding waters. But if you're a little bit higher in the waterbed, then what you have to worry about is the winds. And the winds tear up roofs, they blow out windows, they do all kinds of crap. And so when you hear it howling by the house, and it's only going to get worse and worse and worse before it finally gets better as the eye passes through, it absolutely sucks. Debbie sleeps right through it. I cannot. It drives me absolutely batshit crazy. And Hurricane Debbie earlier on was only a 1. This is a 3. Not to say it can get up to a 4.
Now, when I was a kid and I was enough of the hurricane talk. Hold on a second. Just hold on, bunker boys. I got another hour plus to go here, for Christ's sakes. There was, when we went to Mexico, there was the hurricane, the hell was it? Hugo? I don't know. Was it
Hugo?
No, I'm going to date myself. Eugene. No, it wasn't Eugene, but there was a hurricane and it blew the windows open of the hotel. And I'll never forget, my father made a beeline right to the bar. So, so I get it. We just wanted to find out, we wanted to make sure that mentally you're okay. Cause I'm going to need you on Friday for a football Friday. Wind gust, hurricane, be damned. If you're flooded, I don't care. Figure out a way, go outside, antenna it, left leg up, get the reception, and we're good to go. 5:00 straight up on a Wednesday edition of The Drive with Q. Rich Quinones here. Angel Martinez behind the glass. 727-858-6650. We are powered by our friends who are falling behind on ION TV, as well as Played Again Sports. And of course, Zen Auto Concepts, Acorn to Oak. Brooke Goff, who joined us a couple weeks ago, is going to join us in about 20. But a lot more NFL. I want to dive into MLB. NIL seems to be the hot topic of the day. Also, as I mentioned, I want to get your guys' thoughts now. Let me plant the seed for you. Right now, in the NFL, we kind of know who the top quarterbacks are, right? Let's kind of look at the middle of the pack and some of these young guys. So Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young, Jaden Daniels, trying to think, Caleb Williams. When we look at these guys, say 3, 4, 5 years down the road, and keeping, in fact, that, and we'll go with Drake May as well, right? These young guys, let's go on the premise that they're going to stick with their franchises. Where are we going with these guys in 3, 4, 5? Like, who's still in the league? Because I believe 1 or 2 of these quarterbacks are not going to be around in a couple of years, as crazy as it sounds. And these teams are going to have some big time egg on their face. So we'll get into that on the other side. 727-858-6650. I also want to start to look at week 4 in the NFL tomorrow night. Dallas and the Giants. Giants are dogs at home. They haven't beaten Dallas in, it seems like, 15 years. But we'll start to look at week 4 NFL lines as well. Keep it locked in. We'll take it to 6.
ION Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontb.com. ION Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by ION Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have anybody to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Download the Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game app and tell your friends that Florida has a new leader in digital sports radio.
All right, 5:11 on the East Coast, a Wednesday edition of The Drive with you. Rich Quinones here, Angel Martinez behind the glass. You guys out there, 727-858-6650. We are brought to you by Zen Auto Concepts. By the way, I did check out those lines for you guys. It looks like that game opened at 3 and now sitting at half a point at UNLV in that Fresno game. -3, 110, now half a point at Caesars. And that total is still 52, and it looked like it bled down a little bit. So week 4 is among us, Giants and the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday Night Football. And I threw out a question, get your thoughts. These young quarterbacks, Richardson, Young, Daniels, McCarthy, Daniels, Jaden Daniels. I said them twice, but you know where I'm going with this. These young guys right now, right? In 3, 4, 5 years. See, I think Caleb Williams is stuck with the Bears. I think the Bears are a piss-poor run franchise. I have no confidence in them whatsoever. They can't run the football. I mean, what was the point of going out and getting DeAndre Swift? Eagles fans are funny. Eagles fans bitched and complained DeAndre Swift was underutilized. He ran for over 1,000 yards last year. He's got 8 yards for the Bears right now. Rookie quarterback, you have to give him a tight end. You got to give him a line. You got to give him a running back. So what the hell are the Bears doing, right? Then you've got Anthony Richardson. I thought going into this year, Anthony Richardson should be able to have 25 total touchdowns, over 3,500 yards passing. And I thought Indianapolis was going to be a player in the AFC South. Thus far, I've been wrong. They might bench this kid for friggin' Flacco. Then you got Bryce Young in Carolina. I mean, do we feel bad for Bryce Young because he was drafted by the Panthers? Or is it he's just not a good quarterback? Or he needs a change of scenery? I don't know. I really don't know when it comes to Bryce Young. I just look at him and I don't think he's a real good quarterback. I don't even know if a change of scenery is going to help this kid. I mean, you talk about confidence being shot. Andy Dalton comes off the bench, off the sofa, and he puts up, 30-something odd points? By the way, another coach we haven't mentioned. We might have breaking news for a minute. Another coach that we haven't even mentioned, Antonio Pierce. By the way, we're getting betting. We're getting betting lines. A couple guys wanted to chime in right now. What's the money line that you wake up 4 to 5 times? The over on how many times you wake up tonight when you hear piddle-paddle of rain. I got guys on Facebook telling me right now it's set at -110. The total is 5. I'm hitting the over with you waking up over 5 times. What do you think?
I might go to bed about midnight. Guarantee I'll be back up at 2 a.m. because that's where the height, not even the height of it, as it comes up from Sarasota. And then we're supposed to get it right at 2 p.m. So you figure 12 hours of that, and then still another 12 hours before it heads up to Georgia.
By the way, Vince brought up a good point. I totally forgot to mention. Right now, the worst quarterback in the league might be the kid in Tennessee. This kid, I mean, bad. I get it. You got muscles, you got biceps, you're a good-looking kid. Go be a model. You can't throw a friggin' football. His football IQ, if I can kind of go back to what Damon and AC said, it's goofy. Like, his decision-making is horrible. That's what I'm saying. How bad is There's 5 really good quarterbacks in the NFL. That's it. I mean, I would implore you guys to debate me on this, right? Allen, Lamar Jackson, CJ Stroud, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, do you want to, are Dak and Jalen right now middle of the pack? Murray, middle of the pack. Brock Purdy, I think, is a very good quarterback. All these other quarterbacks stink. I mean, why is the quarterback position so bad in the NFL when they cater towards the quarterback? The NFL wants the quarterback to be upright. The NFL wants the quarterback to throw the football. They want points. They want offense. They've tailored the game. They've taken everything away from the defensive players. Everything. If you go and you watch these highlights from the 60s, 70s, and 80s on Twitter, on X with some of these accounts, NFL Memes, and a couple of these other accounts, they're ridiculous. They're utterly ridiculous how these players just basically would just, these defensive backs, these defensive ends, these tackles, the linebackers, they would crack these guys and flags would never be thrown. Now you touch the quarterback, you blow on the quarterback, you tap the quarterback on the shoulder. It's 15 yards. And yet, in a league where they've geared everything towards the quarterback, okay, everything towards the quarterback, you have such piss poor play. It makes no sense. It makes no sense how bad some of the quarterbacking play is in the NFL. And then you gotta watch these journeymen and these retreads. Retread quarterbacks right now put up gaudy numbers. Geno Smith, Sam Darnold, Andy Dalton. It's just absurd, man. I mean, we talked last week about make or break for week 4. You got the Cowboys and the Giants tomorrow night. You got the Saints and the Falcons. Vikings and the Packers looks like a really good game. Steelers and the Colts. Denver and the Jets. That's a pretty big line, 7.5. I know the Eagles are laying 2 on the road against Tampa Bay. Who knows what the hell the weather is going to be like come Sunday? The remnants. Jacksonville, they should be 6.5 point dogs. I think they are against the Texans. I think a really good game to kind of circle right now. And I think it's going to be a fun game to watch. 4:05 Fox window. That might be the national game, or it might be Pats and 49ers. I'm not sure on Fox because they only have Fox right now has 2 games. CBS has Browns, Raiders, Chiefs, Chargers. So that'll probably be Nance and Romo. But if you get a doubleheader on Fox on Sunday, Washington and Arizona is going to be a really fun game to watch. Both those offenses, they want to open things up. 50.5 is a total. Buffalo and the Ravens, that'll be a real good game on Sunday night. And then Monday Night Football. Ugh. The Titans and the Dolphins. Jeez. Are you kidding me? That's horrible. 727-858-6650. And what's the second game? Seattle and Detroit. Not a bad game. 727-858-6650. Let's pull up Vince's last comment. We can with the 5 or 6 quarterbacks. I think you have 5 to 6 great quarterbacks, 10 to 12 good ones, and the rest are experiments in playing quarterback. So I think 5 to 6, yeah. I mean, listen, can we say right now that the top 2 quarterbacks in the NFL, can we agree? Talent for talent, pound for pound. Allen and Mahomes. Like, let's just stick them right there. Right? I can't put Purdy there just yet. Even though deep runs, playoffs, NFC Championship, Super Bowl, even though I like Brock Purdy. But I just think those 2 are very special. Then, as Vince alluded to, you get to those other guys where, I mean, look, the Burrows, the Herberts, are we over-evaluating them? Are they overrated? I mean, what the hell they won? Prescott coming back down to life. Hurts regressing a little bit. Trying to think who else. Stafford, Goff. I mean, where do you guys, where do you put them? Matthew Stafford, Goff. Who knows, man? Really? I'm talking football here, quarterbacks, and you're bringing up weather?
Yeah, that's why I said keep talking.
What? I don't want a weather. I don't want a Doppler. What are we doing here now? What is this guy talking about? I can't even freaking hear him. I got 5 or 6. I got 5 or 6. I'm going here with quarterbacks, and this guy's bringing up weather. We get it. It's going to rain. There's going to be a hurricane. It's breaking news. Where's the sounder? I'm serious. You're turning into that commercial. That's you peeking through the blinds. You need a hot toddy tonight, man, before you go to bed. You need several hot toddies, okay? And I say this with respect. Whatever you need to do to fall asleep, just do. I got guys texting me right now. Hit me up on Facebook. What the hell is he doing with the Doppler? We're having a hard-hitting conversation about top 5 to 10 quarterbacks. And this guy's infatuated with Jim Cantori. 727-858-6650. So Goff, Stafford, and then you got the lower end pack. And then you have some really bad quarterbacks. Really bad quarterbacks in the NFL. That, for my money, I'm not even going to get into it. Kevin in North Jersey chimes in. Q, I'm loving the show today. You guys are hilarious. What's your thoughts on Daniel Jones? Do you think he turned a corner? Can this team win 6 to 7 games this year? Talking about the Giants, I'm not going to get giddy over Daniel Jones. He had one nice game. That's fine. He was efficient. They almost gave the game away. The Giants, I think, will be competitive tomorrow night. I don't think they're winning the game. It would be interesting if the Giants won, because then they have a winnable game, even though it's on the road against Seattle, and then they play a bad Cincinnati team before they play the Philadelphia Eagles. It would have been interesting to see the Giants win a couple games, right? But I just don't see it. No, Penguin. There are no right now. That's it. We've hit the over for updates. It was set at 6. I had it at plus 125. We hit 8. I put money in your pockets. That's it.
Quick question. Jaden Daniels, is he
holy shit. Hold on. You want to talk sports with me? Let's go. Hold on.
No, just say, because you're talking about, in which I wanted to bring it up as well when you were talking about the quarterbacks and when Vincent made his comment, but Jaden Daniels, is he becoming cocky?
No.
Because, no? You don't think?
Come on, man. No. Why? Why? How?
First, you can have all the confidence in the world, but there's small parts of him on that Sunday's game. Little cockiness. I understand you just came from college. I understand you're trying to resurrect this Commanders team, which you, by the way, let me point out to everyone, said that you would not be surprised if they end up winning the division at the end of the season. And at the rate they're going right now, that could be a strong possibility.
Yeah.
And who would have thought? If anybody would put any kind of Vegas odds on that one, who the hell would have saw that one coming? But
we go out and we get the slip, but go ahead.
It just, to me, there was parts of he's playing a good game. I'm not taking the game away from him. It was just, there were some things that were cutting him off the bench where it's like, all right, bro, slow it down, because you can get knocked out the following week. And I'm not wishing that. I don't want anybody to come down and say, oh my God, he's hoping to get injured. No, I don't. I want him to make it throughout the rest of the season, because I want to see what he's all about. It's just, it seemed like there was a couple times he came off the bench on Sunday that Mike said picked up on it. And it's like, all right, bro, calm it down a little bit. You're doing well. Keep doing well. Let's not get your head too much into the game, as it almost got knocked off 2 weeks ago because you decide your chin strap is not tight enough and you just want to look like a bobblehead in your helmet.
So, are you done? Can I address this?
Sure.
No. I think you're so far off the mark with this one. First of all, he's a young kid, right? He just won a big game on the road. He won a game. The team won a game. That's probably Washington's best win in the last 15 years. Regular season win. They have been itching for a franchise quarterback. You want the kid to be excited. I need a quarterback to be cocky. I need my quarterback to be arrogant, especially if you're a rookie, man. Every time I'm getting knocked on my ass and I'm throwing an interception, go back out there and sling it. I don't want to see the dejected look. I see it with Bryce Young. I see it again with Anthony Richardson. I need a little swag. I need a little confidence, a little bravado. It's a game of passion, man. So they're answering the bell. They're going back and forth with Cincinnati, and this kid drops a dime to Terry McLaurin, Angel. Just a dime. Look, dime. Right there. Seals the game. Enjoy it. Live it up. No. If you rephrased it and said, which is totally doing a 180 right now, hey, do you think Jaden Daniels maybe is taking too many hits? Should he change his game a little bit? I would even say, again, that might be the case, but that's his style. These quarterbacks, they are who they are. It's very hard for a running quarterback, for me all of a sudden to sit there and say, change your game. Change the way you play. Change the way you play. This kid's humble, man. You saw him in Hard Knocks. He was breaking down the board. He was dissecting plays. I wanted the friggin' Giants to draft this kid. I can't even with some of these comments. Now we're calling this guy a fraud all of a sudden, Jaden Denton. You know what? Let me see what the Penguin has to say, and then we'll go to the BS Bunker Boys because they're getting on my last friggin' nerve on this Wednesday. Go ahead. Let me see what Penguin says. Angel, he's such a humble youngster. I think he mentioned he comes from a strong religious background, or at least made religious comments more than a few times. Yeah, I mean, listen, who doesn't want to thank the man upstairs, right? That's what we do. We thank mom and we thank God. We thank Dios. Daniels makes a lot of poor decisions. Jury's still out. Gut says fraud. Based on what? Gut says fraud. I can't. Please, when Washington goes down to Philadelphia and the stink and they put up 35 and they wax the friggin' Philadelphia Eagles, then guess what, B-boys? Come back out. You're going to sit there and say this kid's a fraud? And first of all, you can't call him a fraud and then say the jury's still out. You can't call him a fraud 3 games in and then say the jury's still out. That's double shrimp. That doesn't make sense. I can't have that. The Washington Commanders have been starving for a franchise quarterback, and all this kid does on Monday Night Football is steal the show. That's all he did. I mean, when was the last time Washington scored 38 points in a frigging game? This kid was 21 of 23 for 254, 2 touchdowns. Oh, by the way, he added 39 yards with his legs. And I told you, anytime touchdown with his scrambling, take it. And they ran for over 100. And they played pretty good defense, even though they let Burrow. When I say pretty good defense, they had to make some stops in that game, and they finally got one. And, oh, by the way, the quarterback needed to make a play, Jaden Daniels, and he did on 3rd down, dropped a dime. They didn't punt. There's a stat, and I have to find this stat, Angel. It's ridiculous. I don't think Washington's punted all season. Like, the stat's just ridiculous. You want that quarterback. I don't know. Angel might have gotten blown away. You want that quarterback. I want my quarterback to be cocky and arrogant. I do. You have to in the NFL. It's the only way you're going to survive. This kid's going to struggle. This kid might turn around and throw 4 picks on Sunday. What does that mean? He's less of a quarterback? It just means it's the NFL. Teams are going to adjust, right? You get film on a kid. You get film on a guy. No, I want some of these, Burrow's got a little cockiness in him. Herbert's got a little cockiness. Jalen Hurts has a little arrogance and cockiness to him. Does he not? But Jalen Hurts hasn't played like a quarterback that signed that contract. But we don't want to talk about Jalen Hurts, do we? We don't want to talk about what's going on in Philadelphia. How you're winning a game and you guys think that, it's a gritty game. All right, yeah, you answered the bell. But what your quarterback is doing, the decision-making from your quarterback going into last season is not good. It's just not. He's taking sacks. He's taking sacks for losses. He's turning the football over. He's fumbling. I mean, this, to me, we want to talk about guys being too cocky or arrogant, but then when they lose confidence, they're done. You lose confidence as an NFL quarterback, it's very hard to regain the confidence. And more importantly, it's doubly harder to gain the trust of your teammates. Jalen Hurts went in 2022. He put up very decent numbers. He wasn't sacked as much. He only turned the ball over 6 times. 2023, Jalen Hurts was sacked 36 times. So, kind of average 25, 30 a year. Numbers dropped a little bit. He turned the ball over 11 times. His decision-making was very poor. Pick 6 against the Giants. He had the bad game against Seattle. We know what happened in Tampa Bay in the playoff game. Jalen Hurts, a couple of years ago, you guys were talking about MVP of the league. Top 5. Hurts or Prescott, right? Before it was Wentz or Prescott. Now where do you have Jalen Hurts? Is he a top 10 quarterback? I mean, did all of a sudden he drop so poorly that we look at Jalen Hurts as a bottom tier type of quarterback? You got to be special to be an Allen. You got to be special to be a Mahomes. Rodgers in his prime. I didn't even mention Rodgers because he's an older guy and he's coming off an injury. Carr, Cousins, check down, compilers, late in their career. Right? But if you're going to sit there and tell me that after 2-3 games, we're going to pass judgment on a quarterback, but then say the jury's out, we can't do that. You can't have it both ways. Like I've seen enough of Bryce Young. I've seen enough of this kid. And as harsh as it sounds, first of all, he's with a piss poor organization. And I'll give you 2 examples. Actually, I can give you a really good example of a quarterback that I bet you a lot of you guys thought can play a little bit. And if I asked you right now, what team is he on? You probably wouldn't even know. And that's Trey Lance. Trey Lance was the 3rd overall pick of the 49ers a couple of years ago. I mean, where's Trey Lance right now? I know where he is. I know he's buried on the depth chart with the team. But look what happened to Trey Lance. We were waiting. Trey Lance. I mean, can you really say Trey Lance got a fair shake? Got a fair crack at it? He had a cup of coffee with San Francisco. 8 games. 8 games. Justin Fields. Everyone gave up on Justin Fields. It's not sexy what he's doing in Pittsburgh. It's not. But he also had a handful of games with the Bears. This is why when people are like, you're crazy to think Justin Fields is going to be a week 1 starter, Justin Fields is going to ball out. I said it on my gambling show, Back Your Play. I thought Justin Fields was going to have a breakout year. The numbers are not gaudy. The numbers are not sexy. But you know what Justin Fields is doing? He's playing winning football. And he's going to continue to start with Pittsburgh as long as they keep winning. But everyone looked at Justin Fields and they forget he was a top 11 pick. He was a first-round pick a couple years ago. But he played in 12, 16, 13 games. There's experience there. Now it's a different scenario. He's being coached up. He's with the right system, the right team, and he's playing well. 727-858-6650. 5:35, quick timeout. We'll reset the table. We'll take you up to 6 o'clock straight up. Keep the comments coming. Text in as well, 727-858-6650. Got to remind you as well, we are powered from our very good friends over at Play It Again Sports, 1450 Clements Ridge Road in Deptford, New Jersey. They'll give you the bang for their buck for your used, new, and sports equipment and more. Free weights, boxing equipment, baseball mitts, hats, gloves, golf equipment. They take golf. They give you some really good money for the golf equipment. Drivers, golf balls, anything you guys can think of. Coaches out there, high school coaches, if you need some unis, you need hats, tees, give them a call. They do embroidering and printing as well. 1450 Clemensford Road. They are open 7 days a week. And a new store is right around the corner as well. We will get into that a little bit. But again, for those living closer to the middle of New Jersey, a new store is opening in November in Mount Laurel. So more details to come. All right. 5:35. Back to your thoughts, your texts, your comments. 727-858-6650. I want to mix in a little baseball, but we can keep the conversation going on the NFL and also the NIL situation going on with UNLV. Quick timeout. We'll come back.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Don't forget to get social with us. Follow Q at RichQ on Q. And now, back to Q.
All right, 727-858-6650. We'll take you up to 6 o'clock. You know, we always have fun on the show, but honestly, for those listening in Southwest Florida, please, 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 be safe out there with the weather. I know they upgraded from a Cat 3 to a Cat 4, so if you don't need to go anywhere, stay safe, let it run through, and then in a day or two, God willing, everything will be fine. Bad weather stinks. Bad weather sucks. I mean, for me, I don't mind rain. I don't mind wind. I don't mind any of that crap. It gets pretty windy and nasty down here. But man, I start to see snow. No, I'm like a child. I can't stand driving in snow. Even when I was in Ohio doing radio and I'd have to drive back to New Jersey, you're talking about 9, 10, 11 hours. Even when I have to do broadcast, getting to Philadelphia airport. I had to do a broadcast a couple years ago. I had to fly down to Florida and I had to get up about 2:30 in the morning and I had to catch out of PIA, Philadelphia International Airport. It was right to Orlando, because it was the Avante Palm, real nice place. Anyway, that Thursday night, I got off the air. That Thursday night in the Friday early morning, it was snowing. And it got to the point too, when you hit the expressway, I mean, it just, when it starts to come down and you got the trucks and they haven't plowed and they're going like 120, 130. Yeah, you get a little jittery. You get a little nervous. And I got to the airport and I think the flight was like I said, I left at 2:33-ish. It took me 2+ hours to get right outside AC to the Philadelphia International Airport. Went through security, TSA, boom, boom, boom. And I think it was right around 5:15 and there were no delays. So we were going to go off around 6:30 or so. And I was like, man, 5:15. I was like, you know what? I was like, I know airports, they got bars. I was like, I got to calm down, man. When friggin' 5:30 in the morning, let me do a couple of shots of tequila here, there, and try to sleep on the plane. But I was so, when you're up so early and it takes you a while to get to, like, say, the airport, and you have to go through all that stress because traveling is always stressful. And that day, I had to do all the pre-production stuff the next day, did the broadcast, came home, but I was up for like 24, 48 hours. I think flying home, we had a little bit of turbulence. And when I tell you I was freaking out, it was like a touch of turbulence, like a touch, a smidge, because I was like, all right, just want to get back home. I don't care. I'm going from great weather to cold weather. But mentally, your mind, you haven't slept, you haven't eaten, you know, you get the stress, and then you start to just get to that place when you're like, oh my God, what's going on? Every time you hit the turbulence, I thought the plane was just going to go down. So yeah, I get it. It's, weather sucks. You don't want to have to endure that. So I know we joke and we kid a lot, but definitely stay safe. 727-858-6650. Let me get to a couple more comments. Matty B on Facebook chiming in. Q, you're talking about all these young quarterbacks, but at the end of the day, they are getting paid. They're top 5, top 10. They have a job to do, and that's go out there, perform. I think you're making too many excuses for them. A lot of years ago, 20, 30 years ago, guys did not sit. Sometimes they would just come out and they would play. That is a yes and a no, Maddie, and I appreciate the comment and you chiming in. Yes and no. There are certain situations where quarterbacks would come in and they would start, but I can also give you probably 5 or 6 well-known quarterbacks that had to sit. They had to wait, right? Brett Favre was drafted by the Falcons, and then all of a sudden, Brett Favre, boom. What happened? Oh, hold on. I think I think we got our girl Brooke. I hear rumbling, fumbling. We got static. Oh my goodness. Hold on a second. Then you know what? That's probably bad. That is a horrible job by me then. That's on me. That's pilot error, Brooke, and I apologize.
Sorry, you put me on. Sorry, guys. And again, I came with the look. So this is real life stuff. So my kid found her voice, my 11-month old, so she's screaming in the other room. So
Hey,
this is the stuff you want, right? Real
hey,
life,
listen,
raw.
no, we're
Here
just
it
happy
is.
Brooke we got to back on, does a great job. Attorney, as we mentioned, we talked a lot about the Hill stuff. That's probably on me at the time, so I greatly that's pilot error on me. By the way, have you been following what's going on with this UNLV, the NIL situation?
I mean, have I been following it? Of course. I've started ghostwriting a couple op-eds for it, but
Okay.
every time I go to write a good one, as you can hear, every time I go to write a good one, they something changes or something else happens. So I mean, what would you like to talk about with
I'm
the
just
NIL? Because it's
curious,
very
like,
controversial.
yeah, I think, did we open up Pandora's box with this now, right? Because now you've got the one quarterback at UNLV saying this is what they agreed upon. This is what I would pay. Now all of a sudden the running back's going to bolt, and his comment was the university's not living up to what they promised. So, you know, the devil's in the details, is it not? At the end of the day, I mean, I feel as though this might be kind of like a he said, she said kind of thing. Like, where's the paper trail? If this is what you agreed upon, if this is what you've signed, then this is what you're paid. We're not going to increase it just because the team's doing well.
So I think you run into that anywhere, except the NFL is a lot better at it because they've been doing it a lot longer, right? So think about it like, I know the NFL has rules, but think about it like, look at this kid on the 49ers, right? Like this running back, like what is he, a second or third string, comes out, kills it. I mean, honestly, if I were Christian McCaffrey, I'd be shaking in my boots that I'm gonna even have a job at this point. I mean, he's kind of like, and you kind of sit back, and that kid, what's going to stop him from doing it? Oh, his contract, right? So the NIL stuff is hard because it's new.
Yep.
And we're making the rules, and we're making the we'll say the laws around it as we go. The problem is there hasn't been enough situational lawmaking or situational rulemaking to do it. So, how these things work is there's a situation, there's a dispute, they resolve the dispute, and now you know what the rule is. The NIL is so new. And there were so many, like in my personal opinion, there's so many open-ended parts of the nil like stuff. So they say, okay, now we're gonna pay college athletes, and let me give you the most broad like description of the policy. So
Right.
I mean, it left so much open. So we don't. I think that one, they rushed to release it. One, I do think that these people should have been being paid the entire time. I think it's
Sure.
ridiculous that these universities are getting all this money for these
Agree.
kids, and so that's one thing. But more importantly, number two is I feel like that there was pressure and they rushed it instead of really doing it the right way. Because had they done it the right way, we would have much more stringent and narrow, right? And narrow like scope. And I think that that would be really helpful in applying the NIL rules. So, for instance, I know
When
that
you
there's some
let me cut you off. When you say they, are you talking about in this case UNLV or the NCAA when we started to talk about the NILs when they started to came about? When you say they rushed it,
Hey, I am talking about the final institutional passing of nil.
gotcha.
So there was actually a lot of different agencies involved to get nil to the table. There were obviously representatives of athletes, there were everybody, but the final rollout of the actual quote unquote nil deals, I think is what is most important to kind of look at, right? Because the people that are responsible and allow that to hit the floor and allow that to become the rules, right? I mean, that's almost like its own governing body in some regard. Look at it, right? Like it really kind of is. They rushed it. I mean, you can't the thing with the law that makes things so difficult is you cannot leave open-ended questions. I mean, that's why there's lawyers, sure. But holy cow, like Nil was like so open-ended. So I think what you run into with Nil, one, yes, athletes should be paid. But when you leave the door open into what is so tell me what the ramifications are of that kid saying now I want more money or I'm not going to play or I'm going to go somewhere. Like what is the ramifications? We don't know because it's never played out,
Correct.
right? Personally, I think if that's found to be I think he should be disqualified. I don't think you should be able like these are contracts. People detrimentally rely. There's two parties to a contract.
That's right. Binding
There's
contracts.
yeah, so I mean like listen, I get it. You're talking to a lawyer. I'm in the world of trying to figure out how to not apply contracts. But realistically speaking, Nil did not do a good job to one, protect the universities or protect the kids either,
Yeah.
because here we are, right? Having this conversation. So
Yeah, no, it's a great point. Again, Brooke Goff, founding partner and CEO of Golf Law Group, based out of Hartford. Firm is licensed in Connecticut, Rhode Island, Mass, New York. Was named Super Lawyer, Rising Star 7 straight years, and 40 Under 40 award winner, and of course, loves the New York Jets, fantasy football guru as well. I feel as though too. You open up this door, then who's to say there's going to be another player come out and say, well, you know what? If I see X, Y, and Z doing it, I'm going to do the same thing in hopes of maybe, decision falls in my favor. But if we learn that it's a binding contract and there's nothing this kid from UNLV can do about it, then he's shit out of luck. He's SOL. And now all of a sudden, I guess the timing of it, all of a sudden, they're 3-0, they're ranked, they got a game coming up at Fresno. He's playing really well. And I'm wondering, did someone whisper in his ear, hey, man, you should be getting more money?
but I mean that happens regardless. Like we run into that all the time. People whisper, people talk out of turn all the time to these kids. And it's listen, it's college 101. Okay? You have a contract. That's it. And if you don't have a contract, go somewhere. I mean, listen, of course people want more money. As a lawyer, I take a case on whether it's great or not great. And it either gets really good as it goes or really bad. But if it gets really bad, I don't say, okay, well, I deserve less. Or if it gets really good, I deserve more. I get what I agreed to.
Agreed.
So a case, let's just say I don't do divorce, praise Jesus, but let's just say it's a divorce case. My fee's not 500 an hour. I know Connecticut guys, but then find out that, oh my gosh, I see the affidavits. These people can pay me more. Oh, you know what? My fee's 900. Like, it's just not how it works. So these kids need to learn valuable lessons. Let's not be greedy. 3 years ago, you made zero. And it didn't matter if your team was 8-0 and 0-8 or 0-8. It didn't matter, So
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. I think it's very poor taste. And I'll be honest, the NFL, I hope, is paying attention to see who's going to be our troublemaker and who's not. I'm
I
paying attention for fantasy. So
Yeah, I kind of said the same thing. Like if it is legit contract, and all of a sudden you're coming out, someone definitely got in your ear, and you're trying to squeeze them for more money, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, I'm going to take my ball and I'm going to go off the sand lot, right? I'm getting out of the sandbox, and then you have that perception or that reputation kind of tagged for you going forward. And there's no guarantee. Look, no guarantee these athletes, these players are going to get drafted. I get it. You're trying to make the most bang for your buck. I understand all that. But at the end of the day, not only are there too many loopholes, as you said, but it just wasn't really pieced together. There's not clarity, right? There's not a ton of clarity. I did want to ask you with the whole Tua situation in Miami. Uh, I feel as though, and I don't know if you can speak to this, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but
no, it's fine.
talking contracts, right? It seems as though there's now verbiage put a lot with these quarterbacks, especially ones that have been injured, when we start to talk about the insurance policies, right? Because at the end of the day, the team needs to protect the player, but they also have to protect their entity. They have to protect the business side of it. They have to protect themselves. When you see what's going on with Miami, and Tua, even if he gets cleared and he decides to walk away, there's a lot of money that's like on the table there, man. Do you think this will be the
Listen,
new
I
norm?
dropped him.
Oh,
I
you did?
dropped him off my fantasy team. I don't want to see what he's going to look like if he comes back. So trust me. Sorry. But I listen, I don't know why. Think about it. Would you buy a house for, I don't know, $100 million or $50 million and then not get an insurance policy on the house? Like you got to just think about it
Yeah,
like real
business.
life. Like if they didn't get the insurance because somebody was in charge to get it and didn't get it, well, that sounds to me like a potential lawsuit, or it sounds to me like a potential obviously a career killer. I mean, I got to tell you, I think that it does come down to the team. I don't think anybody expected Tua to get, this many concussions in this little bit of time. I mean, who did? But at the time he has. He's very injured. I don't think he should play. I think that there needs to be rules around protecting these guys, and that's it. I mean, I hate to say it like that and be, not very kind about it, but I
My
think I lost you guys and I posted here. Hold
No,
on.
you're fine. Take your
There you
time.
are.
You'll pop up. There you go.
Sorry.
I know that roughly half of the NFL teams, I think, have an insurance policy on at least one player
Yeah,
contracts, right?
you bet.
Which is their you would assume their most expensive
Yep.
contract. I also believe too that I don't know. There's reports coming out that he still hasn't met with neurologists, or he keeps pushing it back. And I'm wondering again if maybe there's a little more to this that we're going to find out. Where, to your point, they might not medically clear him.
I mean, listen, I've seen a lot of people get medical cleared in the NFL that you sit back and you're like, how did that just happen? Right. Um, look at Hamlin, right? Like same year, right? Like medically cleared. So, I mean, we've seen, but the problem with the four concussions is, unfortunately, the guy, I mean, this goes beyond his professional career. This goes to his personal life as well. I mean, CTE is real. We've seen the results of it. I'm from Connecticut. Aaron Hernandez was from, I think, 3 towns over from where I am. And four concussions in that span of time. And these aren't just concussions like, hey, I bumped my head. I mean, you saw the concussion. I mean, I think the guy, I believe from what I saw as I was yelling at the TV, is that he was out. He was knocked out. So, I mean, I don't know. I think, well, firstly, if there were an insurance policy here, I do want to say the insurance policy would require a ton of things to be able to kick in. That's number one. But my understanding is there is no insurance policy. Well, that's what I have read, anyways. And if that's the case, I think the team's just trying to protect themselves a bit. But I'll tell you, I think his guaranteed money was like 40 something million. Is that right? 40
Yeah,
something. It said the insurance policy would save 40 something $1 million. I mean,
it was. I know. We'll see.
business people, but I think the NFL is full of I think the NFL is full of stupid business people. So there's a difference between being a person that's in sports and being a business person. And I find that a lot of these people making decisions are people that are not business people because, they're owners of teams or they're managers of teams without real business.
I pulled up his contract, 4 years, 212 million, pardon me, 60 million guaranteed. Now, again, if he walks away, he's leaving a substantial amount on the table. And again, if he's cleared and he decides to walk away, it's just, he's got 200 something on $1 million not to retire, I guess the plan is. And it doesn't look like he's going to retire. And I'm wondering too now, if he is, God forbid he's medically cleared and then he gets concussed again. If he's medically cleared, there's absolutely no way that the Dolphins and their staff would be held accountable. I know we'll try to get, what do you call that, Angel? When we're resyncing sometimes, what happens? Yeah, we're doing a little resyncing. All right, so we'll wait to get Brooke. But yeah, this whole situation, I mean, he's got no plans to retire. And I pulled up, let me see. I got the contract info. So he was it 200 something on million that he's leaving on the table. And I don't think that's like, I don't see it, man.
I'm telling you, I'm walking away. If I have, why you have the money, Q, unless he blew through his money, there's why on God's green earth would you play again? You have a family, you have kids. I sent a message to both.
It's a lot of money.
Right. And I just sent a message to both of you guys saying about Brett Favre, how he just came out and talked about he's getting he has Parkinson's. And he had mentioned about, getting like medication, whatever it was. He went in front of Congress and basically he got ripped off for a bunch of stuff, but he said he got it mostly because of his concussion. So, I mean, you look at Brett Favre.
Yeah, but I'd have to have a little bit of a pregnant pause on that, to be honest with you. Let's just clean up the contract real quick. Well, and then we'll get into that. Brooke, what we were saying is that, Angel was making the point, hey, why not retire? You banked so much money. And then my point was, well, if he's medically cleared, he's medically cleared, but God forbid he's medically cleared. And what happens if he gets concussed again? If he's medically cleared, the Dolphins are not liable, right? Because he got, quote, medically cleared.
I mean, listen, so, and again, I apologize. I bopped off. We're in the middle of a bad thunderstorm, so I just moved into another room. Sorry. So here's the deal. So I haven't seen his contract, and I would assume, I mean, again, we're talking about a team though that might have been dumb enough to not have an insurance policy. So I don't want to assume anything, but let's just say everything else is in order. Yes, there's probably language to protect them in there, but I can't imagine that players have not sued teams before I'm sure that out of that comes a bunch of allegations that may or may not be true, because at the end of the day, if you're a quarterback and you expected to make, I don't know, $500 million throughout your career or $400 million, and now you got 4 concussions and you're only going to make, let's say, $50 million, that's a big hit. You've lived your life around thinking you're going to make this money. So people will say a lot of anything to try to be able to collect, and ultimately the team does have to make a decision. I mean, will they have him sign something called a hold harmless, which will mean like, God, listen, we don't think you should play, but if you choose to play, we will let you, but we hold no liability. If you
like a waiver.
Right. But then we have another issue though. Does he have the cognition to do that? Because he has a brain injury. So can he turn around and say, listen, I lack the cognitive ability to appreciate what it is I was signing. Wow. So you are opening Pandora's box. But the sad part is I almost think it needs to happen because, if this has happened, which I am sure it has not hit the public yet. We don't have one that we can both sit here and talk about, right, together. So I think that one of these needs to hit so that we can all, figure it.
I did pull it up. If he is never medically cleared to play, he's entitled to the entire $167 million. In the event,
but he's already earned some of it, right?
Right. The Dolphins are insured up to $49.3 million of his contract, although it's not known whether concussions are excluded from the Dolphins insurance policy.
I mean, I would assume the biggest thing you'd be concerned of is a concussion, especially for a quarterback. It happens all the
Quarterback
time.
that's sustained a bunch of them.
Listen, I have to tell you, and I'm a huge fantasy person. Like last year, last week, I went at least 500 in my fantasy leagues. But all these guys are out. I've never been so happy to get the 9th pick in a 10-man draft than ever, because the first 9 are all out. I except Bijan Robinson, I think, is the last man standing. Is he not? You have, you have Nakua out. You have Cooper Kupp out. You have Christian McCaffrey out. Sam Laporte. I mean, like who else is kind of left, right?
Yeah.
Like you have Joe Mixon out. It's like it's awful, and you sit there and you're like, wow, thank God I picked up Shakir, or thank God, who we expected but not expected to be utilized as much, or thank God, for some, I think this Kareem Hunt might be used quite a bit coming up, because I'm not impressed with Steele much, but you look at the second stringers and they're the ones pulling all kinds of incredible points. And
Depth of the roster. What do you got, Angel?
Never thought I'd be upset not signing Devin Singletary first, but I mean, it is a world. It is a world. Danny Jones is back. Anything's possible, I suppose.
Yes, this is true.
Brooke, I wanted to bring up a point that Q had mentioned sometime like last week, and as far as talking about Tua, you being an attorney, and he brought up a really good point, was the doctor. If you're the doctor and you clear Tua, and it's a big spectrum, huge open-ended conversation, but if you're the doctor and you sign off and you say, okay, Tua, you're good, you're cleared, here you go. God forbid 2 weeks from now, when he comes back onto the field, onto the gridiron, another concussion, now he's just done. I guess my thing is, as a doctor clearing him off, is there a guilt behind it, or you just pretty much just doing your job and saying, listen, I cleared him, but I mean, what else can I do? I'm not him.
Sounds like you're doing a job, a little Miami push. But listen, I don't think at that point we're talking about how much insurance the Dolphins have. I think we're talking about how much insurance Doc has, because I can tell you, if the doctor releases him, and he shouldn't have released him, and this guy goes down and he's unable to play, but seriously injured. I mean, there's not enough insurance. So I'm a plaintiff's attorney, right? As you know, but my wife is a defense attorney. So my wife defends doctors. This is what she does. And I can tell you, it would not be the first time. How's that? So, and they do not carry enough insurance, unless it's a hospital that releases him or something. If it's an independent doctor, there's not going to be enough insurance. Listen, I've had clients come to me, or potential clients come to me and say, listen, Brooke, I want to sign with you. And I get their medical records, and they went to 10 different doctors before they got the answer they want. There's no question that somewhere, whether it's in Miami, Jacksonville, Texas, Dallas, wherever, somebody will clear the guy.
Someone's going to sign off on it. Someone's going to sign. Yeah.
Somebody that's probably not smart enough to have enough insurance.
I mean, think about this. The whole Hamlin situation, right? I mean, you got a guy that literally passes away, right? And everyone had all their conspiracy, this and that. And now the guy's running around, he's making plays. He actually is the one that tackled Tua. He had a pick the other night in the game. I mean, imagine being the Bill staff or the medical, and have, I mean, I would be petrified to have cleared that kid.
I'd be surprised if there was not a serious hold. I mean, from what I read in the beginning, they were telling him they don't recommend he play again because he's one hit away. I think there's all kinds of releases in place on that case. That kid's probably taken his life in his own hands. And in the event that something happens and he ends up ultimately passing away on the field or whatever due to a hit, I can tell you the Bills have likely insured themselves, not insurance policy, but insured themselves by and through contracts that he's not going to be able to hold them liable. You're not talking about a brain injury at that point, right? No. I mean, I watched it happen, and the first thing that came out of my mouth, it's because, of course, for me, it's maybe the next op-ed I write. And I just think like the title of this op-ed would be, and it's like Clash of the Titans, right? You have the most fragile chest in the whole history of football right now, and you have the most fragile brain in football. Like you have two of the weakest body parts coming together, and it's a nightmare. I listen, guys, like injuries happen in football. They happen. But when is enough enough? And how much power does the NFL have to make decisions for these players? I think that's what it comes down to. I mean, is this because I'll tell you, the lawsuit from Tua is not going to be just to the Dolphins and the doctors. You know who else is going to be named? The NFL and the
Of
commissioner.
course. And you're going after
And
yeah.
you're going after a huge entity. And I'll tell you, there's pocket after pocket after pocket. So, and they don't want the negative publicity. Listen, I think that we need to figure out when is enough enough. And I don't think that there's really a measure for that. There's nobody's ever come out and said, if you meet these guidelines, you cannot play in our league. They haven't. There's no measure.
Too
How do
much
we know?
gray. Yeah. Too much gray.
Gross.
Yeah.
I mean, and I gotta wonder, and I'm like, I get it. There these people. This is all they ever wanted to do in their life. They planned for this. That's all they ever wanted to do. But you understand that they can get insurance policies on themselves as well, correct?
Yes, I do know
Similar
that.
to a workers' compensation
That's right.
policy.
That's
So
right.
if they choose not to get that too, there's got to be some fault on the players. You can't
Right.
just lean on the big entities. Just because people are worth $100 billion an entity doesn't mean that they should need to give you some of it if you're not entitled to it.
Right. And then, I mean, you start to look into, all right, are NFL players at will employees? And you start to.
And I think that that's hard too, because I think that they try to make them, and I've not seen like many contracts, but I think they try to make it seem like they're like 1099s.
Right. But where's the
even though
belly of the
they're
beast? You're
not.
playing in the stadium. So that's,
Right.
I'm an
Right,
employee. Yeah.
But then again, they make them buy their own stuff, is my understanding, and everything else. So, like, think of it like, are these employees or not? Well, do you provide them the stuff? Do you tell them where they have to be, when they have
Take
to be there?
direction.
Do
Yep.
you provide the transportation, or do they? These are all. This really gets down to a workers' compensation 101 question. And if he's an employee too, if you're watching this, you need to file a workers' comp claim.
Hey, listen, I've argued this for years in media. If, whether it's pay to play, if I'm taking direction, if I'm being hired as an on-air talent, what equipment, where am I doing it? Am I remote? Am I inside? I mean, this is one of the reasons New Jersey wanted to cut down a lot on what they would say was the free labor when it comes to media, because it was such a gray area. It was never black
Sure.
or white, but it opens up an interesting conversation in the sports world. All right. Before I let you get out of here, you can wax poetic. Are you giddy with your Jets right now? I mean, is Rodgers going to last the whole friggin' season?
Rodgers is not the Jets' problem. Rodgers is going to last. Listen, when I talked to him in July, I said to him, listen, Aaron, is this year going to be the ring year? He seemed very hopeful. And I'll tell you, I watched him on a golf course and he walked a lot of it. So if his knee was bugging him, he would have jumped the cart as anybody would. He walked a lot of it. Listen, I think our bigger issue right now for the Jets is, can Rodgers and Garrett Wilson get on the same page?
Same page.
Because Alan Lazard is half the receiver that Garrett Wilson is.
I
And
agree.
Lazard and Rodgers go way back with their connection. So, my biggest problem is, can Wilson and Rodgers get on the same page before week 8? Because we have, I will not even. So week 6, I think we play the Bills, and we got to beat the Bills. We got to beat them. So this week we got to beat the Broncos. But I'm pleased to see Breece Hall. Jets defense leaves a little to be desired. I'm happy to see that they've mixed it up a little bit. But I'm happy with what I see. I need to see Breece Hall's given it his all. Conklin looked really good. He had more points than Kelsey's had all season in one game. So I like to think that we're in it to win it. But with the Jets, you can't really tell until like week 6.
All right. That's fair enough. Listen,
I'm hoping Nix goes down this week. Sorry. I hope he's okay. But I just hope he, twinges his ankle and they pull Zach Wilson out so we can all go after him at the game. Because I'll be at that game. And I want to see Wilson in another uniform. We'll all rejoice. Nobody's crying. We're all cheering and probably booing because, what a waste.
Where can everyone follow you again on social?
Sure.
And
So you can follow me on Brook Golf Official. You can follow me. You can check out our law firm at Golf Law Group on Facebook or Instagram, or you can come to Connecticut and drive on any major highway. Our current campaign's with Jared Goff, so
nice.
it's come join the family, right? So you can come check that out too. But be happy to be on again. I'll hope it will be better.
No. And the pilot error on me with the times, and I apologize. But
No,
no,
that's fine. I mean,
no, we definitely.
there's 2 times, so it could be. Let's blame Greg.
I mean, listen, I was in the guy's wedding. I don't know if I can blame him. I mean,
No, we should blame Greg though. I like Greg.
all
We
right,
should blame Greg. It's
Riley, it is.
easier to
We
blame
always get the
people
PR
when
guy.
it's easier to blame people when they're not here to defend themselves, right?
Well, he's
That's what
probably
it is. So
listening right
let's.
now, and I'm going to get a text, but that's okay. I always appreciate it, Brooke. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Take it easy. All right.
All right,
Thanks.
there you have it. I know we're so behind. We got to start wrapping it up. 6 o'clock straight up on the East Coast, couple minutes past 10 after, if you will, right here on Sports Radio 102.9 FM. The Game. Appreciate Brooke for chiming in. We're going to get her on a lot more. She's incredible. Very entertaining and great insight. Angel behind the glass. Angel Martinez keeping us on the air. All right, listen, Southwest Florida. Be safe. Be sound. Hopefully you guys get through the next day or so. We always joke. We always have a lot of fun. Even the dog's getting excited because she knows right now the storm, it is a coming. But you guys be safe, be sound. We're going to try to work in Lloyd on Friday. I know Angel's doing a lot of work behind the scenes. And, first and foremost, be safe down there. My friend, for Angel Martinez, I'm Rich Quinones. Appreciate everyone chiming in with the calls, the text messages, the comments. Have a good Sports Wednesday. Be safe, be sound, Southwest Florida. Check us out on demand as well, SR 1029 FM The Game. Don't forget to download the app, Rich Q on Q on the YouTube channel, and we will be back for Football Friday. Until then, I'm Rich Quinones. Hasta luego, buen día.